Well, hello and a very, very warm welcome to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn, and a very special celebration of Andrews everywhere because it is indeed St Andrew's Day. And make sure that together with our normal galaxy of stars, we're going to spoil you rotten. Because live in the studio, I have the fabulous Owen Paul. We also have internationally renowned mind reader and psychologist Graham P. Jolly. And we also have, there's a doctor in the house, the wonderful Clive Jackson. And just to remind you, this is what he sounded like.
When I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that's best. When they lay me down to die, I'm going on up to the spirit in the sky.
That is the Reverend Dr. Clive Thomas Jackson, no less, the leader of Doctor and the Medics. And he's not the only Reverend we have on the show, because I'm delighted and honoured that my good chum got up especially early to join us all the way from the Tower of London, Roger Hall. How are you, Roger?
Morning, Andrew.
It is such a joy to see you. And you used to be, talk about connections with Scotland, you were the chaplain up in Edinburgh for 4 years, weren't you?
That's correct. My last job before I came to London here was to be chaplain to the castle and to a group of soldiers that were based in Scotland as well. So I have a strong tie with there. And also before that, the army in its wisdom sent me to the Outer Hebrides, where I was also chaplain to places like St Kilda and other outlandish places. So I have a real strong feeling for Scotland.
No, we love Scotland. You always get the best tickets for the tattoo, didn't you, being Edinburgh
Yes.
Castle?
At least we tried to.
Always a thrill. And then you got sent down for a little minor job down here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 14 years ago, I had this phone call out of the blue and was invited to become chaplain to the Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, one of the busiest tourist attractions in Great Britain, but sadly, like the rest of the UK at the minute, in complete lockdown and closed down. It's probably never been as quiet as this in its whole 1,000 years.
And it is quite extraordinary. So you are one of the chaplains to Her Majesty the Queen. And what I love is the papers today are populated with wonderful images of Her Majesty on a Zoom call, rather similar to what we were doing earlier.
Yes,
yes. You have your audiences in person with Her Majesty, though, don't you?
Just occasionally, yes. I mean, there are official duties when we have to be part of a team of people, like she has a royal doctor, royal physician, garden parties and all that kind of thing. And then there are the occasional private occasions when the Queen public meets somebody and there has to be a royal chaplain, again, a royal somebody around, that sort of thing, yeah.
And I remember you telling me earlier that your mother was particularly proud to see the boy who used to do a Liverpool paper round was sat with Her Majesty.
Yeah.
What did she say to you?
Yeah, she still rolls that out regularly. She says, I still can't believe that the boy that did the paper round in Liverpool, is now chaplain to the Queen. And of course, for her, she's nearly 93 now, lives up in County Durham, and with her lovely old ladies, she's always trying to get one up on her team when they go out for coffee.
They're absolutely glorious. And we've been seeing The Crown at the moment. Do you have a favourite person who's portrayed the Queen? Do you like your Olivia Colman or you're a Helen Mirren fan? Who gets it right?
Of it yet, but my wife has been glued to it throughout the whole programme, so I'm picking up second hand. I'm waiting for that quiet moment when I will sit down and watch it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we're going to get you a bit of the gossip along the way, because I know you're going to be a regular on the show, and we might get some insider view as to what the real thoughts are about the Crown. But Roger, just to put this in context about today, who was St Andrew and why is he important to Scotland?
Oh, well, Andrew's one of the really important ones of our saints, really, because he was one of the first of the 4 disciples to be called by Jesus. And he called his brother, Simon Peter, also to become a disciple as well. And Andrew appears in all 4 Gospels. That's significant as well. He was with Jesus from the start of his ministry to the end. I particularly noted where the feeding of the 5,000, that Andrew was one of the ones who answered the questions about how we're going to feed these people. After Jesus died and all that, the apostles went out as missionaries, and Andrew went out to Greece, probably northern Greece, which is where, in fact, Patras, in fact, where he died. And he lived for a fair old while by the standards of the day. He was in his 50s when he died there. And of course, like so many of the others, he was martyred. He was crucified. But he refused to be martyred on a cross like Jesus, a straightforward cross. He wanted to be crucified on a cross that shape, what we would call today a saltire cross. He was deeply significant in the fact that his bones were taken to Constantinople, where even to this day the story goes that his bones are there and his head's in Rome, poor fella, being a bit split up. But there we go. And the significance for us, of course, with the Scottish tie is that sometime around the 8th century, one of his relics would have been taken by missionaries to Scotland, to a place in Fife, which eventually, as we know today, becomes known as St Andrews itself, where the university is, where Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, actually, royal connection again, went to university, and they adopted him. And in that particular period, in the 8th century, they adopted him as their patron saint. There's a lovely, quaint little story, if I can just share it. It's very short, very short story. In north of England and in Scotland, people have often wondered why over the fireplace there's a saltire cross like that, the cross of St Andrew. People think, oh, well, this is because, he's the patron saint of Scotland. That's true. But actually the reason why they put these saltire crosses, St Andrew's crosses, over the fireplaces was to keep the witches from coming down the chimney.
No, there's nothing worse than those witches coming down the chimney Friday night.
Not to keep Father Christmas, but to keep the witches.
Those witches follow. Even in the current lockdown situation, those witches get everywhere, don't they? Well, Roger, it's always a joy to see you. I know you're going to come back on the show. Next time we come on, make sure you've watched The Crown, because I'm going to ask you all about
I'll
it.
do my best.
Fantastic. But for now, Roger Hall, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So that was Roger Hall, all the way from the Tower of London. He will be a regular on the show, sharing his wisdom and a little bit of insight of what actually goes on in the royal household. We're now going to go all the way from there, all the way over to North Carolina, Wilson, North Carolina, where the wonderful Ray Shell. How are you, Ray?
I'm doing really, really well. I'm trying to stay awake. I'm not used to being up quite this early.
Well, I tell you, it is early, isn't it? I mean, Farron Young was right. Over there, it's what, 4 in the morning?
4:07 exactly.
4:07 exactly, Farron Young. But you're looking very good and you're looking very sort of in there and getting ready to celebrate St Andrew's Day. But tell me, we were chatting earlier about the political climate in America at the moment. Talk to me about that. What's the feeling on the ground?
Well, it's a bit of confusion at the moment because we have a president. I called him, well, I'm not going to tell you what I called him, but he doesn't seem to understand or want to realize that he's actually lost this election. And he's busy filling his followers and anybody else who would care to listen about all the inequities and all the supposed behind-the-scenes machinations, as if Joe Biden is that powerful, that's keeping him from staying president. So it's a lot of confusion at the moment. I mean, he doesn't believe that 80 million people actually voted for Joe Biden. And I'm actually reading a book about him at the moment. A book that his sister wrote it. I don't know if you got Mary Trump.
Mary Trump,
and
I know,
it's very
like
interesting.
Mary, yes.
Yeah, it's really interesting because she talks about why he is the way he is. It's after I'm reading it, I understand why he is. I actually feel kind of sorry for him.
And I think they always say, don't they? If you show me a man until the age of 7, I'll show you the full-grown adult. And Donald Trump, it was quite extraordinary because he is connected to Scotland. His mother, Mary, came
his
from
mom,
all the way out there, didn't she?
Toga.
That's right. If you have a look, this is where Donald Trump also got his hairstyle, because Mary Trump has this wonderful bouffant thing going on there. But Trump, I'll tell you what, Trump has been a godsend for comedians and commentators worldwide.
Yes.
He has dominated the headlines, hasn't he?
Yeah, he gave. I mean, Mr. Baldwin has another career as you know. He's not Mr. Big, just Mr. Big, known for Sex and the City. He's now the president. Maya Rudolph. You know, this whole situation has created a whole span of new people. I want to get on there, actually. You know?
Wait,
But
have a go. Well, the other thing, Ray, as well, is that what the news, and what I'm always interested in, it's not a political comment, but I'm always interested in how the news responds, because a lot of them are cutting the president off. Unprecedented use of the word unprecedented at the moment. But the president is cut off in press conferences. He's saying that, basically, obviously, he's saying he's still not accepting the election. What people forget is that he got more votes in history than any other sitting president.
Yeah, I mean, which is so crazy. Well, it's not crazy. I mean, the thing about it is, right before the election, I sat there saying, am I on the wrong side of history? Am I the one that's, so I feel a whole lot better that there were like 70, 80, 79 million other people who felt that the man was a little bit, ready to leave, ready to go somewhere. But the thing about it is, his mother actually recognized the traits that he's showing all the world today. And they put him into a military school to try to, just calm him down because he wouldn't listen to nobody. And I think for me, my personal connection is that my mother's name is Mary. His mother's name was Mary. His mother was married or either born on my brother's birthday. So I said, well, maybe, there's hope for me yet. I can turn into an international super something. Hopefully not.
Ray, you are a legend, and starring Starlight Express and Five Guys Named
That just means I'm old, Andrew. That just means I'm old. That word, legendary.
It's always a joy. So you reckon Trump is still fighting it in the courts at the moment? That we have glorious images over here. Poor old Rudy Giuliani with his bad hair dye day. I mean, the headlines have just been brilliant for that. And today in the news, I see Biden himself has gone again because he was walking his dog yesterday and he twisted his ankle, didn't he? So he's now going to have one of these big foot things on for the next few days.
Well, I think he's showing everybody that he's human. That's something that Donald Trump was a god. He was better and bigger than all of us. But we've got a human president now. I mean, Donald even caught coronavirus. I don't believe the man actually had it, but he caught and Jesus healed him. I guess when you have your mother's name is Mary, I think you have a special dispensation up there. But it's like I cannot believe where I am right now. As you know, I stayed in the United Kingdom for over 40 years, and to come home to this madness, it's like, I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going to be right there in Brighton with my children. And hang out with you guys. If they let me in.
We'll definitely let you in, Ray. It's absolute joy to catch up with you. We've continued to follow the story. It could be Biden and Biden, but we'll get back to you on that one as well. But for now, Ray, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. We're now going to go all the way to learn how to cook a wonderful Scottish dish, I believe we are. And we've got Chris Dodd on the line. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm fabulous, Andrew. How are you?
Well, fabulous. You're looking like the milk tray man today, Chris, if I may say so.
Thank you. I think
you were, in fact, you don't know the milk tray man. You were, in fact, a chocolatier for the Rothschilds family, weren't you?
I was, yeah, for Sir Evelyn de Rothschild, yeah.
And what did that entail?
Well, he's a chocoholic, self-confessed. And he set up a little chocolate business and had a shop just around the corner from where he lived in Belgravia. And I was hunted down to make the chocolate for him and set up the company. We had 2 shops. For a brief moment, we had a concession in Harrods as well. And we made all sorts of truffles and pralines and figurines, Easter, Christmas, all these sorts of things. And it was great fun. It was really, really good. I mean, I've always said when I was a little boy that I would like to play with chocolate. If I could make one thing forevermore, it would be with chocolate.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, isn't it? It's what you dream of. And it was like in Bedknobs and Broomsticks when you had little candy which you just pluck off, or Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. We love all that sort of stuff, don't we? So a dream come true. Now, you're going to create a dish for us today, a particular Scottish dish. Talk me through it.
It's called Cranachan.
Cranachan. Sounds like a whiskey.
Cranachan. And yeah, I think it's an excuse to have whiskey for breakfast. If I'm going to do it as a breakfast dish because it's 9:15, but it's a sort of a dessert traditionally eaten. It's a harvest celebration, really, for the harvest in June for the raspberries. They have lots of raspberries up in Scotland, and actually lots of northern countries Northern Europe and things have lots of berries. There's 400 types of berries, 400 different species of berries.
Will you name all of them for us? That'll be interesting. We could read through the telephone book for people who want to hear the other channel. So berries, you've got raspberries. What else is going to be in the berry choice today?
Today I've got raspberries and blueberries.
Okay.
I also, I've got some frozen, in my fridge here, I've got some frozen berries. I'm going to turn the camera angle down so you don't have to look at me. And there we are, that's the kitchen. I've got a bottle of whiskey. I haven't drunk any yet, I promise you. This one is a cake whiskey made by Glenmorangie. And they worked with another pastry chef, Dominique Ansel, who's got a shop down, also in Belgravia, I think. And so I think that's just a good excuse to have a drop of whiskey with dessert any time, or in this case with breakfast. So basically, Cranachan is originally made with. Let me bring out the angle again. This camera angle is going to be jumping around, okay?
That's all right. Well, we're making you work hard today, Chris. It's got to be good.
Yeah.
So as you say, Scots, I think the Scots more than any other nation, don't they? They like to have whiskey with their breakfast, whether you put it in the porridge or whether you put it in your Cranachan dish. Why is that?
I don't know. It's just because it's there, isn't it? And maybe the water.
They have it because it's there. That's rather like climbing Everest. Why did you climb Everest? Because it's there. There's a bottle of whiskey in the kitchen. I'll have it for breakfast because it's there. Okay, well
it's closer than the sink for the water.
Absolutely. So so those are the ingredients. So talk us through. What do you have to do next?
Well, we have it was called. Hang on a second. What was the word for it? It's a soft curd cheese. And that's what they used to use in Scotland, homemade curd cheese from cow's milk. And nowadays it's usually used whipped cream. I'm going to make more a sort of a granola-y version using yogurt, and it's going to be vegan and delicious.
That's good,
so
because veganism now is coming everywhere. And I'll tell you what, I've been to lots of those vegan festivals, and it used to have such a bad image. But vegan food, I'll tell you what, the best mac and cheese I ever had was a vegan mac and cheese. So veganism everywhere, I fully support that. So this is vegan.
This is vegan. I've got some vegan yogurt here made with soy yogurt.
Yep.
And I'm just going to pour that into my mixing bowl. It's not a recipe where I need grams and things like that. It's just as you wish, and especially when it comes to the whiskey, how much can you take in the morning, really? There's going to be a drop, really. So I have some toasted oats here, lightly toasted in the oven. On oats, really, the colour doesn't change too much. They just become a bit firmer, a bit drier, and then they soak up more of the liquid that we're going to add. So we'll fold that in a little bit too. I'm going to add some toasted nibbed hazelnuts here, which are really, really yummy, and add a little extra crunch. I'll mix those together there, so it becomes a bit stodgy. Now there used to be a drink that Oliver Cromwell would drink called Caudle, and he was a big fan of it. And they used to steep oats in whiskey, and then add milk and sometimes egg yolk, and it was a sort of an eggnog style drink. But he was a big fan of it, and he used to have it before battles and all sorts of things. So
is that a good idea? It's rather like swimming on a full stomach. Don't you have to leave a couple of hours beforehand? That must be the same for battles, I would imagine.
Have you been to battle? I've not really.
What, in Hastings?
Yes. I've not taken part.
Okay.
I wasn't in Agincourt, but I'd imagine you'd need to take a bit of rest. So there's a few different ways. I'm going to serve this in a glass, just for the elegance of it. But I think a commonplace thing to do for dessert in Scotland, when you're serving this at a dinner party, is to have it all separate, and everyone helps themselves and mixes their own one in the bowl. And it ends up looking a bit like an Eton mess, sort of just slopped in a bowl. So that's not. It looks like a cold porridge at the moment. Slop. I've just realised
you're selling it so well, Chris. You're selling it so well. Keep going.
Some raspberries here, fresh raspberries, and I'm going to also. Oh no, I'll save those for later. Fresh raspberries here, some fresh blueberries. Always wash the blueberries as well, because they always come up a bit dusty. Like that. So that's going to be really nice. Oats and whiskey. Now, oats and berries and almonds. Then I've made my own little granola here. Now, I like to use honey on my granola. This is more of the oats and more of the almonds, hazelnuts. And I mix them with some honey and roast them in the oven until they're nice and golden and crispy. So that's going to add another dimension of crunch and a bit of colour. Stir that in. And the Swiss have a similar thing to this. It's they call it a Bircher muesli, which is very popular. They sell it in all sorts of cafes, and so that's basically it. It doesn't. It's a cold porridge.
It doesn't sound like a very difficult dish to make. So you basically get all those ingredients, put them together, and this is the important bit: a little bit of whiskey to bring out the flavour. Is that okay?
This has been infused with all different spices and cake and. God knows what else. Yeah, but delicious. I'm going to put just a nip in there. That's enough for me this morning.
Actually, seems okay.
Oh, okay.
And then Andrew, just a little bit more. There we go. It is St Andrew's Day. We can celebrate in style, and then we're going to plate it up. Come on, then. This is what they do on MasterChef. They say 10 seconds. And you've got to plate it up, okay?
10 seconds.
Well, I'm doing a MasterChef moment. I'm going for that Matt Lucas job. It's got to be good. Okay, here we go. 10 seconds. You've got to plate it up. This is looking beautiful. And
10 seconds.
And we're going to put this recipe, for people watching at home, we're going to put this recipe up on the website in case you need all of those ingredients. And if you've got any suggestions as to dishes you'd like to see prepared, do send them in. We can put all the details on the website for you. In the meantime, how's it coming along, Chris? You're going to put some on screen like that.
There.
It is
Just
looking
put some
beautiful
on the top to make it look a little pretty.
There we go. And we're going to take it all the way over to Greg to show him what it looks like. A few more fresh berries. That is, and hold it up. This is the money shot, and then you take a little spoonful of it. That looks wonderful. And take a taste of it, because I can't taste it from here. We'll do it remotely. Let's have a look. This is the moment of truth. Tell us what it tastes like.
That's delicious.
That's delicious. You have to say, I'll take your word on that. Wonderful.
Whiskey really fixed it.
I think you're probably right. Well, Chris, lovely to see you. Thank you very much indeed. The recipe will be on the website. But for now, Chris Dodd, goodbye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Wonderful. So, there you go. If you want to have a go at that, send in your photos. We'll see how you get on with that as well. And don't forget, if you've got your own recipes you want to share, let us know. During the course of this whole series, we're going to be having all sorts of celebrity chefs, all of those who've worked in 5-star Michelin restaurants and various other places as well, coming on the show to share their secrets. And talking of secrets, delighted to welcome Richard Jones. How are you, Richard?
I'm not bad at all, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning.
St Andrew's Day.
It is a wonderful St Andrew's Day, and what a joy to see you with the traditional, this is what we like, the traditional Zoom backdrop. But what I love about, and I remember this beforehand, is that everybody has their fake bookcases, but yours is a real one, isn't it?
It is. Look at this.
But you haven't read any of those books. I know. There we go, just to prove it.
Packed out. Actually, right, pick a word. No, that's not me.
I think Graham will be doing that a little bit later. But what I'm interested, you said, when I said to you a bit earlier, this is all about Scotland and celebrating everything Scots. You said, well, I'll talk about Sherlock Holmes. So how is Sherlock Holmes connected to Scotland and Edinburgh in particular?
Well, it's the amazing thing. So many things came out of Edinburgh. And one of them was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was born at 11 Piccadilly Place in Newtown, Edinburgh. And he was the man who created Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock Holmes was based on his tutor from Edinburgh University, Dr. Joseph Bell. And one of the points about Joseph Bell and doctors in those days was, remember, these are the days before they had x-rays. So doctors had to go by deduction and observation. So doctors learned to deduce. When they saw someone come in, a patient would come in, the doctor would just look at the patient and often simply by looking, be able to effectively peer into them and x-ray them. And this is what inspired him to create Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, wonderful. And Dr. Joseph Bell, you say he was a big influence on the creation of Sherlock Holmes. Why would a detective be based on a doctor?
simply because Conan Doyle was fascinated by the way that Dr. Joseph Bell worked. When the students were in there being given their lessons, somebody would come in and Dr. Joseph Bell would simply look at them and then say to them, okay, this person has been a soldier in Afghanistan, he's done this, he's done that. And Conan Doyle was fascinated by this process. And so that's what gave him the idea for this detective who is an independent detective. The police at the time were very unpopular. they were seen more as people spying on people than actually helping solve crimes. And consequently, this clever detective would come in and do what the police can't, deduce, solve crimes. And of course, doctors, detectives, in a way, if you think about it, doctors are detectives. They have to trace the criminal, or in our case, health or disease. And so consequently, there's a lot of connection between doctors and detectives.
And there's a lot of connection between doctors, detectives and magicians. We're going to be talking to Graham P. Jolly a little bit later, because mind reading and working out body language, all of those sort of things are really important as well, aren't they?
They are indeed. And it's often said of a great detective that they can actually look at somebody and decide that whether they're guilty or innocent on the spot. And it's amazing what we give away with body language. So, there's a lot of connection. And of course, Edinburgh it's the perfect setting for that inspiration, because it's such a wonderful city, and Scotland's such a wonderful country as well.
Scotland is glorious. We love Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon, who has been given a hard time, for the first time I've seen her given a hard time on the Andrew Marr show, that other Andrew, yesterday. So always interesting. And ever since she left the Crankies, it's always been a bit difficult. But one of the things, you talk about a dark secret and being able to tell certain things. What was the dark secret about the Conan Doyle's family?
Well, the dark secret was that Conan Doyle's father was Charles Altamont Doyle, and Conan Doyle's father was an alcoholic. And one of the reasons Conan Doyle was sent away to boarding school was because his mother wanted to get him away from the influence of his father. And his father was a very talented artist, a brilliant artist, but because of his alcoholism, he ended up being institutionalized and sent to an asylum. And when Conan Doyle, the interesting secret is that when Conan Doyle created Sherlock Holmes, remember Sherlock Holmes is addicted to cocaine, and that's talked about in many of the stories. And when he actually created him, the first person who illustrated Sherlock Holmes was his father. He actually sent the story to his father, and his father did the illustrations. And it's interesting, if you see those early illustrations, it's not the Sherlock Holmes we're used to in the Deerstalker with the pipe, etc. In fact, he's a bearded figure, and it's very much based on his father. So his father evidently saw himself in Sherlock Holmes.
And I think those are the secrets, isn't it, of people who write really well. They write from experience. And we've had a number of portrayals of Sherlock Holmes over the years. Do you have a favourite yourself?
My favourite portrayal, I have to say, which is going to sound totally bizarre, but I think I've forgotten his name now. Is it Johnny Lee Miller, who does the Elementary, the American version? I think he gets him perfectly, because you get the danger and the underlying drug addiction, which is there in the Sherlock Holmes stories, and a lot of the film versions, TV versions, don't portray that. But it is an important point of Holmes's characteristic. Of course, the point about Holmes is he's virtually what we call today bipolar. He's almost a manic depressive. And it's only when he's got a case, he's on the trail of something, that he really does come out of himself. And but there's so many underlying psychological things in the Holmes stories. So I think Johnny Lee Miller gets him perfectly.
And I think what's happening, I mean, we talk a lot about mental health and putting autism and various challenges that people have on the map. I mean, Sherlock Holmes himself is probably on the spectrum, we would say nowadays, wouldn't we?
Oh, very much so, yeah. And if you do look at any great people, you know, the point about people who become successful in the field, or people who are in the field, is they often are driven on by something inside them. And call that something what you like. Call it autism, call it mental illness. But it's often something there that's in the creative personality. Like the creative gene is a flawed gene, and there's pain in it.
Oh, absolutely. And what we like to do on the series is to shine a spotlight. So many celebrities, members of the royal family, have spoken up about their own challenges. And I think the more that people have role models who come out and talk about those, the better it is. Let us be the generation who talk about mental illness so that the next generation don't suffer the stigma. For now, Richard, thank you very much for joining us. A fascinating interest in Sherlock Holmes. We'll bring you back. Richard Jones, thanks for joining me.
Elementary, my dear Eborn.
I thank you. Look, you've practiced that before. Always a joy. Well, my next guest, I'm delighted. We say, is there a doctor in the house? Well, there is indeed. And this particular doctor had a #1 in 1986, which sold 24 million copies around the world. Let's have a little listen to remind us.
When I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that's best. When they lay me down to die, I'm going on up to the spirit in the sky. Going on up to the spirit in the sky. That's where I'm gonna go when I die. When I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that's the best.
That fantastic, and that was the sound of my youth, 1986, when I wasn't even born, 7 years before my birthday. Clive, how the devil are you?
Hello there. Am I able to?
Well, I tell you what, your product placement at this particular moment, the doctors and the medics, there you go. Shameless plug. You can take it off because...
Well, I thought nobody would recognise me if I didn't have the logo on
I
the
think
mask.
everybody would recognise you anywhere, such a distinctive sort of
Well,
face.
actually, if I could just say, being on this show with your good self, it's one of the few times I feel underdressed. Look at you. You look absolutely amazing, Andrew.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so. And this is a bit of Balmoral tartan from my good friend Joe Corrie, a child of the Jago, Vivian Westwood's son. So, yes.
You blame me about product placement.
It's always good. Well, what I love, though, Clive, I mean, you are a real character on the scene. Every time I see you, you're normally performing for millions. Audiences of thousands of people adore you, get them all going. You're a DJ, you work on the basis that you do live performances. How on earth has it been for you in lockdown?
Well, the strangest thing about today is obviously, I mean, little bit jet lagged as I flew in from Wales yesterday, but coming down the M4, the performing side is one thing. You have to deal with that mentally. You talked about mental health. And I think the hardest thing with the lockdown for all of us, not just in the entertainment industry, but people whose jobs literally were just within the space of 3 or 4 days, it felt like the dominoes. And you just looked at your year that you'd been working all winter to plan, and you saw that all going. That impacts on everybody. It doesn't matter how hard you think you are or how well planned or how clever you are. You are just left looking at a chasm that was your year, and that is hard to deal with. But the advice I gave that I got actually from my brother, he just said, let it go.
And it is good advice. And the thing is, what people forget, they always assume that people in the public eye are earning millions, and you've sold 24 million records around the world, and you're swimming in caviar and glugging the Krug. But the reality is, it's not. You have musicians to support. There's a whole crew of people who follow you on the road, all of whom are out of work at the moment.
Well, when you say this misconception, you've got to remember that 99% of the industry are people who work for a living. We don't have, we're not, you've been on top of the pops, And in my case, it was a long time ago, Andrew, and it was only once.
Was it only once?
Well, no, 4 times, but the same song. Right. So, absolutely no complaints. It's the job we do, the job we love, but we don't have massive reserves. I think there was this conception that somehow we were sitting in our gilded castles just to see it all through, as you say, quaffing away on the wine. No, you've got, as you say, you've got your bands to support, you've got yourself to support. And you just have to do what everyone else has to do and start to navigate your way through and get and put yourself into a position where you can survive. And we will come back. In fact, we are coming back.
Oh, no, absolutely. And the joy of it is that people are reinventing themselves. So you yourself have come up with a new show called The Doctor Will See You Now, which was initially going to be a live show, and a number of dates are planned. But we're going to start doing bits of the show on this very, very channel, this very, very show, so people will get a flavour. Tell me what is in that sort of show.
Well, a quick potted history of the show, if you like. By the way, the version of Spirit you showed, could I just explain that
Yeah,
quickly?
go for it.
Because it's kind of part of the story. That wasn't the video that people are used to seeing with the black and white swirls and all the white bit. That was filmed with the current band a couple of years ago on the set of a horror film called The Howling, in which I played a 475-year-old dead baron.
Hey.
Come on,
As you
come
do.
on.
Come on, we love
I
it.
have got the market cornered in dead barons, but which was great fun. But we went on the set for a day and we filmed the video, and that was what you saw there. So that was that.
But every time I've seen you have so much fun on the set, and I always think, I mean, the things behind the scenes go on and things happen which shouldn't supposed to happen, but when a group gets together and they genuinely like each other, it shows on screen, doesn't it?
Well, the current band and myself, it's about my favourite lineup because musically they make me look good. They're that brilliant. They make me look good, and we're all just friends, and we've missed that friendship more than anything. So it was lovely to see them on there doing that. But when I did that little bit of acting, so I've done little bits here and there, nothing major. So as I say, during lockdown, you had that whole thing of that's gone. What am I going to do? So I just thought, people had said to me, people have said, all these mad things, your daft things that have happened to you, you should write a book. And I always remember the words of my first manager. I said to him, Andrew, if I wrote a book, nobody would believe it. And he said, dear boy, if you wrote a book, nobody would buy it. So what I decided to do was, instead of sitting there and writing a book, I thought, well, no, actually, as you say, this is live entertainment. We're going to have fun with this. So I came up with the idea of the show, which is it's music and talky bits, and the talky bits are just about the career, the strange, rather eclectic career I've had, because someone said to me a while ago, you should make a comeback. And I said, well, how can you come back if you never went away? And how can you go away if you weren't really here in the first place? Right. We are the band least likely to make a comeback. In fact, we are the band least likely to ever exist, let alone to still be here. It will be 40 years in 2 years' time. We've been managing to do it. So I just thought people deserve an explanation. So this show kind of explains why we started, how we started, some of the madness that has gone through, and why we are where we are today. And it's got music, and it's all... we're known for doing cover versions, which we always love to do. There's a couple of cover versions in there, including Spirit in the Sky, obviously, if people behave. But we actually play our other hit.
Yeah. Burn.
There
you go.
We play our other hit. It's the only time we play it, because we don't really like playing it live, but we've kind of worked a way of getting it into the show. But we do say to people when we play it, please don't tell anybody you heard another hit from us, because we are a one-hit wonder. They don't write books about 1.5 hit wonders or make television shows. So please, always a one-hit wonder. So it's so lovely to get that music in. It's a two-man show. It's myself and a guitarist. We did our first ever show. We were allowed in that brief period when we kind of almost came out of lockdown, but didn't. Are we? Some venues were allowed to do socially distanced shows outside. So we did one, and it was just getting back to performing was just wonderful. But it was such fun. I was just talking, we were laughing, interacting with the audience. It's what it's all about. And it drove me on further. So we've got dates. But the great thing is, we're going into proper theatres.
Yeah, and it does make a real difference. I mean, you're going to be a regular on the show. We're going to come back to you later. I mean, you say you only arrived once and didn't come back again. You did come back, and I'll remind you what it was. You came back on the TV series Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oh, don't.
I know, because you beat Jackie Graham, you beat Belinda Carlisle, and how dare you beat Shaky.
Well, you could be, we're in dangerous territory.
Dangerous territory, I'll tell you what.
We're dangerous territory, because the official winner...
Oh, no.
The official winner was Shaking Stevens, officially. But this was in the days when... How can we say this without getting the Andrew Eborn show struck off?
Well, thank you very much.
It was in the days when phone voting wasn't perhaps as regulated as it is at the present time. and a certain person did rehearse their winning speech at lunchtime before the show was filmed.
Uh-oh.
I'm saying no more.
We love it. It's all here. It's a revelation. On that
But I was
bombshell.
robbed. I was robbed. They mugged me in public.
I'll tell you what, you and McDonald can compare notes. You stay there because we have a little bit of fun for you, because what we've got, I have got together with Miss Scotland. I love it. How are you, Kate?
I'm good. Hi, Andrew, St. Andrew, and hello, Norman. How are you?
Oh no, I'm not quite that old, but thank you. No, my name's not Norman. That was Norman Greenbaum. We did it in 1970. He's a lovely man. And we do, yeah, but no, it's not the first time we've been confused.
But we love it. Norman,
I've never live on air before.
I think it's Norman Bates. I think that's shaky, getting after you and revealing
Norman,
the secrets.
if you are watching the show, God bless you. I love you.
It's got to be good.
You can tell I've not had enough coffee. It's so early,
Oh,
isn't it?
we love it. But you must be used for coffee, though, Kate, because you used to work with Michael Winner.
I did. Winner's
how was
Dinners.
that? How was that?
He was a wonderful man. He was the most amazing film director to work for. He taught me all about behind the scenes of filming, TV commercials, film. Then I got to star in his Eshaw car insurance commercials.
Hey.
And just a very inspiring guy. He was lovely. God bless him. Love you, Michael.
Fantastic. No, a real character, Winner's Dinners. And he was just round the corner from me, which is lovely. So we'll talk a bit more about him another time. But Miss Scotland, you held that title. I won't give the year, but you held it. You were Miss Scotland. And you're going to tell us, being St. Andrew's Day, some of the traditions. Let's peek beneath that kilt and tell us about some of those traditions.
Well, obviously, with the kilt, for example, you can't call it a skirt. Many Scottish traditions date back 1,000 years. So the pattern, the colour of the skirt denotes a particular clan. So one thing is they don't like it to be called a skirt. And one of the fashion designers, a dear friend of mine, Vivienne Westwood, who designed my English evening gown, and she also designed my Miss Scotland gown. She designed for Miss England for me. She was the first one to put the kilt on the catwalk.
Ah, good heavens. That's rather good, because you do associate, Vivienne Westwood, that's why I'm wearing it today as well, is with Joe Corey, her son. Yes, you associate with Malcolm McLaren and Johnny Rotten. It was all about the kilt and things like that as well. But what about some of the other traditions? What about haggis? What's the story behind that?
I don't know the story behind the haggis, but I'll tell you my story behind the haggis. I went to the Boysdale Club in London about 10 years ago, and they were serving it on
Ranald McDonald, absolutely.
And I was with one of my best friends, Matthew. I said, there's no way I'm going to eat that haggis. It looks disgusting. And let me tell, for people who haven't tried it, it's absolutely delicious. Oh. Do you like it, Andrew?
I'll tell you what I particularly like, and Chris mentioned this earlier. If you put a little bit of whiskey on by the side, and then you put a lot more on, it tastes superb. Absolutely delicious. So I prefer it fried. You're probably not allowed to do that, but actually, with bashed neeps, and the proper way of doing it is superb. Well, listen, Kate, we're going to come back to you a little bit later on in the series. But for now, the former Miss Scotland, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
It has been magic. And talking of magic, world-renowned, internationally clever mentalist. I'm delighted to welcome, limbering up there, reading a book, colouring it in. He's playing chess. Graham Jolly, hello.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello. It is a thrill. How are you?
It's too early to say. My doctor's not returning my calls.
Is that right? Well, I particularly like people's backdrop. And I see you've got something you've knocked up earlier. Talk to me about your backdrop. What's that?
This. What's this called, Lloyd? A tapestry. What is it? The unicorn.
Unicorn.
My wife knows about it. I just paid for it. It's quite attractive, though, isn't it?
Okay. And are you a tree man? Have you put your Christmas tree up yet?
No, we haven't got one. No. Well, we don't know what we're doing. This lockdown business. It's nice to be seen, actually. I haven't been seen for months. Yeah, people say to me, well, don't worry about it. You can spend more time with the family. Well, I don't want to spend more time with the family. I've had enough, really. I'm writing a book at the moment. I'm writing a book about magic.
Oh, good. What's that going to be called?
Interest I know we both share. I'm writing a book about Al Quran, who was a famous magician, mentalist back in the 60s.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've been doing some online award ceremonies.
How do you find the online things, Graham? I think people have got, they're zoomed out. We're all zoomed, as they would say in Dad's Army, and it's good. What I like about this, we've broken away from the confines of a little bit of a screen, and we can start doing proper stuff in the studio again now.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd like it, but I did. As soon as I walked on, the cameras rolled. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, you've been brilliant.
And then,
and what I love, Graham, as well, you've been working with all your tricks beforehand, and we'll come on to the very clanky linking rings a little bit later on. I heard it in my ear
rings, the
all
oldest trick
morning.
in magic, yeah.
I know, we love it. But first of all, tell us what is the difference? You call yourself a mentalist, but you've written a book on magic. For the benefit of people at home, what's the difference between a mentalist and a magician?
Well, there's very little difference between a mentalist and a magician. I mean, we both use psychology. We both use micro expressions for reading people's facial expressions, body language, probability, showmanship. I mean, I can show you, if you like, Andrew, the difference between a mentalist and a magician.
Absolutely.
Shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Here's something that a mentalist might do. I know we're both into magic, but you're not helping me. You're not a stooge or confederate. Is that true?
Well, absolutely not. But we can bring Clive in as well. Clive's in the studio, so we can use him as well.
I just want to ask you, Andrew. Andrew, when I flick my finger, name out loud the first playing card. The first playing card that comes to your mind now.
7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts. Well, that's interesting. Because, well, I think it's interesting. I always keep a pack of cards with me. And 52 cards. And one card is reversed. One card reversed. You thought of the 7 of
Hearts.
I reversed.
That is incredible. And we didn't plan anything beforehand.
We didn't. And I may have put that in your mind by the use of words, but it's a borderline thing, isn't it? It could be magic, it could be mentalism. Here, this is something which is obviously a magic trick. People often say to me, well, not that often, but they say to me, where do you get your playing cards from? And I say, well, we print our own. We start off with a pack of cards with a blank on the front and blank on the back. Now, to print a pack of cards, this is what you do. You first of all show the cards blank on both sides, and then we just think of a colour, like black, and we get a black card printed. But of course, it won't have a back. We do the backs separately. If you want a red card, you just cut the back and you get a red card. But of course, that too will have no back. We do the backs later on. Now, the rest of the cards are, of course, blank. Not only are they blank on the front, but also on the back. Now we come to the backs. They're also blank throughout, as you can see when I fan them. To print the backs, it's a very similar process. You first of all show the cards blank on both sides, and then we just think of a colour and we get black. Someone said to me, this is all very well, but what happens? Well, I just showed the cards were fully printed. He said, what happens if the cards don't come out quite right? So simply just cut the pack like so, and you're left with a complete pack of 52 blank playing cards, so you can start all over again. Now that's a magic trick. Thank you so much.
Oh, brilliant!
You love chess, don't you?
Oh, I love a game of chess. You're going to show me a quick chess one. Go on then.
Well, no. I was watching. Did you enjoy
the Queen's Gambit? Oh, the Queen's Gambit. We've got some chess experts coming on the series a little bit later. I loved the Queen's Gambit. I can guarantee.
What's the name of the actress? Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, I can guarantee there'll be many, many chess sets sold this year and Christmas presents and surprised.
Woman. Lovely woman. I say strangely attractive.
Is that right?
I like strangely attractive women. I like Angela Merkel.
Do you?
Oh yeah. Anyway. Anya Taylor-Joy. We're trying to get her to come round the house for a game, but you don't know her number, do you?
I can probably look it up for you, Graham. It's always a joy. But you are going to be a regular. I know you've got a few guests as well. Give us a little flavour of who you're going to bring along in the future.
Well, I thought, do you enjoy movies?
I love a movie or two.
Well, do you remember the film The Shining?
I absolutely. It gave me horror nightmares for ages and ages.
Yeah. Do you remember the lady who came out of the shower?
Absolutely.
Well, she's my wife's best friend.
Well, I'll tell you what, we love it. 6
I'm
degrees
quite fond of her
separation.
myself, actually.
Well, we will look forward to that scene. And next time,
Her name is Leah Beldam.
Leah Beldam. Okay, well, next time we'll look
I
forward.
thought Henry Marsh should be Henry Marsh. I've met Henry Marsh, the neurologist, quite a few times, and he loves magic.
And he's got a great book out, and he will be a brilliant thing. So we're going to get you on again on the series with Henry Marsh, and indeed other stars of other movies. But for now, Graham P. Jolly, thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Wonderful. Well, Clive, I thought that what we should do is I wouldn't leave you alone with your one-hit wonder, because you're not really a one-hit wonder, and neither is my next guest. In fact, my next guest is indeed my favourite waste of time. Look at that plug there. It is the wonderful Owen Paul. How are you, Owen?
I'm very well, Andrew. Good morning.
Owen.
Hey, we love it. It's going to be good. And it's not just Owen, we've got Lynn and Howard there as well. How are the three of you?
Correct.
And thank you so much. Happy St. Andrew's Day.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, baby, I'll tell you what, this is good. And I'll tell you what, Owen, what I love about you, you are one of life's great survivors, because whatever life throws at you, you just come out on top. Because we were talking about Clive, and he was calling himself a one-hit wonder, which he's not. You had my favourite waste of time at the same year, 1986. But you weren't a one-hit wonder either, because earlier this year, you had another number one. Tell me about that.
Yes, I did indeed. There's a new chart called the Heritage Chart that was made by Mike Reid and Neil Fox. And after whatever it was, 34 years, I got back to the top of the chart all over again. It's absolutely fabulous, with a brand new song as well. So I'm now a two-hit wonder.
And I love it. And hearing that new album and the tracks on it is absolutely brilliant. And we've talked to Mike previously about the lack of airtime is given to what we call heritage artists. So we thought we'd do some of that with the heritage charts and so on and so forth. But the songs that you've got, and it's same with Lamar and Toya and Carol Decker, things like Sleeping on the Same Pillow and Beauty of the Sun are just beautiful and deserve that bigger audience.
Thank you. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of acts, like you mentioned, Carol Decker or Lamar, or say even Nick Kershaw. He's got a cracker of a song out as well. But most people think, once the people from the 80s or the 60s or whatever stop making records, when in fact they don't stop making records. They just disappear off the mainstream mediums as such. And they're always recording, always got new things out. And this new way of doing things has become a great platform for people to hear their favourite artists with brand new material. So it's been brilliant for us and brilliant from the audience too.
No, absolutely. But what I also love about you, your various TV appearances, and there have been two particularly wonderfully memorable ones. Let me jog your memory. You probably don't need me jogging it. Talk to me about Pebble Mill and what happened then.
Pebble Mill is very, very simple. And it looks at it, it's become a classic clip on clip shows all over the world. And it's massive on YouTube and whatever. Basically, all that happens is if you're watching on TV, you can hear the song, but the guy performing it, me, isn't moving at all or lip syncing or joining in. It's mainly simply because the monitors at my feet did not play the track. So there's like 70 seconds on live television on Pebble Mill and BBC One at the time, where the camera's coming towards me, the red light is on, so I know it's going, and I'm praying they switch it off after, here's the big summer hit on Paul, blah, blah. Total silence to me. If you're watching from home, the track is playing, and it looks like I've got an attitude problem or something.
It was a glorious moment. It was exactly that sort of thing. When, through the magic of television, people pretended they were singing live. And I do go and search out that clip. Owen will forgive me because it is brilliant. And Owen is such a professional. Looking back, and there's this wonderful moment saying, and now here's Owen Paul with my favourite waste of time. And they pan in, and there is nothing but silence as the music plays.
Oh, it's horrendous. I've died 1,000 deaths.
I love it. And I tell you, the other thing is the glorious, unexpected appearance on the Osbournes and Sharon Osbourne throwing hams at you. Tell me about that.
Yes, it turned out to be a thing that we weren't aware of at all. I was living in a friend's house in Beverly Hills, and we were basically there working new records and playing mixes and stuff. But we noticed during the summer there was a strange building being built in the garden next door. because it had like ornamental Gothic things all over the wall. We thought, that's a bit odd. But we had no idea it was Ozzy and Sharon or anything. And then they moved in, and then it came up to roughly about now, whatever year it was, say December time, going into Christmas and New Year. And what do Scottish people do at New Year? They have a sing-song outside. They do this quite often, and they sing very loudly, like we're about to do in a minute. And it was just a family sing-song, and Sharon and Ozzy weren't happy with it, and they started to fire stuff across the wall, stink bombs, meat, all sorts of things, smashed windows, but we had no idea it was being filmed. That's the basic issue with it. And then somebody from MTV came round asking us would we sign a document to show the clips. We were like, what clips? They said, we've been filming you all summer, and then we filmed this bit and you've been fighting. That's why we were fighting with you. We've got a new TV show, and we were like, we want to see the clips. They said no. We said, well, you can't, we're not going to sign the document. So they showed the clips anyway, but they blurred our faces out. So you couldn't see us, but you could hear us singing some dodgy songs.
No, we love those dodgy songs. It's got to be good. But look, Lynn, Howard and Owen, you've got now, what I like, one of the biggest things out of lockdown is you've brought back my favourite waste of time with some fantastic guests recording stuff at home. You've got Glenn Matlock, you've got Toyah, you've got Carol Decker, Lee John, an endless list of stars. I think to finish us today, you're going to give us a little bit of my favourite waste of time and then finish on something traditionally Scottish. You take the high road and I'll take the low road, and both of us will be in breach of lockdown restrictions. We're going to finish today's show with Owen Paul. Don't forget to join me tomorrow where we're going to have a Bee Gees special. But for now, thank you for all of my guests. Owen, Lynn and Howard, take us out.
Here we go. Chi-ba.
There you go.
Here we go. Happy St Andrew's Day. Here it comes.
Happy St Andrew's Day. Loch Lomond. Take us away.
By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, me and my true love wherever gone together. On the bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Here we go. Sing it, everyone. We'll take the high road.
You don't climb.
And I'll be in Scotland for ye. Me and my true love will never meet again. On the bonny banks of Loch Lomond. You take the high road, and I'll take the low. And I'll be in Scotland for ye. But me and my true love will never meet again. On the bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Let's go by. You take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland for ye. Me and my true love will never meet again. On the bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
Hey, there you go. Fantastic. The wonderful, wonderful Owen, Paul, Lynn and Howard as well. Just remains for me to thank all of my guests for a wonderful first experience. Clive, it's been a tremendous start.
It's been a joy. Thank you. One quick suggestion.
Go on then.
You asked for cooking suggestions.
Yes.
Next time I'm on, anything that contained the words breakfast and whiskey in the same sentence, please. Perfect.
Wonderful. We look forward to it. I love that rock and roll lifestyle. And talking of rock and roll lifestyle, we have got a whole treasure trove of great stuff for you. The great and good of industry around the world. Tomorrow you can join us for a Bee Gees special when R.J. Gibb, the legendary producer and son of Robin Gibb from the Bee Gees, he'll be joining us, as well as Blue Weaver. It's going to be another cracker of the show. But for me, Andrew Eborn, enjoy whatever you're doing. Have a great St Andrew's Day. See you next time. Bye-bye.